you doing here? So for some reason, my door doesn't have a lock. So that means that anyone can just come in whenever they want, particularly my nephew. So that also means that sometimes I just can't do stuff, if you know what I mean. Well, that's a problem. Let's solve it. So the most obvious solution is a lock, but replacing my doorknob would probably take like less than 30 minutes. And I don't want that. I want it to be a month-long job. So let's add some extra features. Number one, we'll make it IoT, so I can remotely lock and unlock the door. Then we'll add an RFID sensor for keyless entry. So number three, probably the most difficult feature to implement, we'll make it auto open and close. Now that's cool. Number four, bone shaker.
Bone shaker. Yeah.
What? How'd you get in here?
I want bone
Let's
shaker.
go to your mommy. Bone shaker.
Bone shaker.
Okay, first thing we'll do, go to Amazon and buy a doorknob. Buy one with an actual lock. Yep, that one, perfect. This one looks like there's a really good grip to it. Wait for the package, we get the package, we open the box, figure out that this is not what I showed you because I was kidding. Let's take a look. We all know how doorknobs work. You turn this thingy and the other one turns. Pretty straightforward. But the mechanism inside is what's interesting. So for each knob, there's a spring inside that allows it to revert back to its default position once you turn and then release it. Next, there's this long metal rod called the spindle. This connects to both knobs and is responsible for retracting that latch so you can push or pull the door. And the last thing is the actual lock. So when the lock is engaged, it prevents the spindle from turning, which means that the latch doesn't release and, well, you can't open the door. So after reviewing the mechanism of the doorknob, I don't think there's a way I could do it with what I had in mind. I'm not a mechanical engineer, so I think I'm heavily underqualified for this job. But am I gonna give up? No, absolutely not. Let's get to work. After a few days of trials and errors, I finally have a solution that should work. Or so I thought. So the idea is simple, but the design, not so much. So I created this multi-part mechanism that kind of resembles a doorknob, but with more bloated features. So this specific part is supposed to replace the knob with a lock, and then I'll just reuse the other part of the doorknob. Let's print it and see how it works. And here it is. I separated the moving parts by color. So the whites are the ones that can move and the black is the stationary ones. Okay, so here's how it works. The knob is connected to this part, which is connected to the spindle, which essentially connects both knobs and allows it to turn. These two prongs on the knob is the actual lock. So when it's fully pushed in, it locks it in place where the knob can no longer be turned. Then you can push it back out to release the lock. So that's the manual locking mechanism. For the automated one, this is where the lead screw comes in. For locking, the lead screw is pushed in by turning the motor, which essentially pushes the knob to its lock state. Then, to release the lock, we activate an electromagnet that allows this part to stick to the lead screw. So once it's pulled back by turning the motor the other way, it takes the knob with it, which releases the lock and allows the knob to be turned again. Let's see it in action. Alright, so here's the setup. Let me scan the RFID tag and it doesn't work. Okay, I need a new motor. This is the NEMA 17. Still a stepper motor, but it's bigger, it's stronger, it's square. It's here to square the circle. Ha! Get it? God damn it, bro. I'm a total dingus and I forgot to hit record. But it's working. This motor has enough torque to lock and unlock the door. Now we just gotta install it on a real door. You know how I said it would take me less than 30 minutes to replace my doorknob? Well, it took me 13 minutes. But that's not counting the hour-long task of trying to figure out how to remove it, of course. Okay, so here's the assembly, trying to go through it the first time. Let's see if it works. As you can see, I'm reusing the other part of the doorknob, and then I just implemented my own here. Look at that, kinda looks like it works. Now it's in a lock state, and now I can't open it. Amazing. Also, there's kind of a hack that I discovered. So I can just smack it like this, and it opens up. Hopefully my nephew doesn't figure this out. One change that I made was that I replaced the stepper motor for a servo instead. So I just can't take the amount of wires needed to use the stepper motor. The servo uses 3 wires, the stepper motor uses more than 5, plus a 9-volt battery. While testing, I found that the electromagnet got a little too hot. So I removed it and replaced it with this umbrella looking ass ugly part. That part is now connected to the doorknob, so whenever the stepper motor moves, ideally the doorknob should also move with it. Alright, let's fire it up and let's see if it works. Wow, it works so well. I'm done, bro. What the f... I replaced the umbrella with this part now. Hopefully this will keep it from turning. Looks like it's working. It's not an ideal solution, but it works. And you know, sometimes you just gotta embrace mediocrity to move on. Let's do that. Moving on to the mechanism that opens the door. This is a 2-bar mechanism? Question mark? Okay, so I attached this mechanism to this box to test it out and see if it actually works before I put it on the real thing. So the box here acts like a door, and then a motor would be attached to this 2-bar mechanism. Then that motor should be able to open and close the door because physics? Okay, enough yapping. Let's see it in action. Alright. I mean, in concept, it looks like it works. I guess there's only one way to find out if it truly works. Let's put it on the door. Alright, this one's a pretty easy setup. Just gotta put the servo up here. And then now we're kind of just testing different rotation angles. I honestly don't know what I was doing here. I kept on doing the same thing, hoping the result would be different. After failure upon failure, things finally started looking up. Little by little, the pieces are falling into place. And then, it finally happened. It's working. Open. Close. Open. I was so amused that I spent the next 10 minutes doing it over and over again. Okay, so it actually works. But there's a problem. So one of the problems is that I put it at the very, right here. The reason why I did a little bit of a touch test. I found it easier to kind of push or pull the door on this side as opposed to putting it on the far left side. So that's the only reason why I put it there. But because I did that, the opening of the door is not even big enough for me to get in or get out. What I'm gonna have to do is move it from here to there. I think that should work. Okay, but before that, I had an idea. I've been using this generic blue RFID tag, and I thought, why don't I make my own custom tag? So I opened one up to see what's inside, and here it is. It's essentially just a coil of copper wires connected to a very small chip. So now that I have the dimensions, I was able to create my own custom tag that looks a little bit less generic than the blue one. Then I added a little key logo, just so I don't forget that it's a key for something. Okay, back to the doorknob. I could not handle how ugly that thing was, where it didn't resemble a doorknob anymore. So I made some big changes. Here it is. So the locking mechanism is now there. That's for the manual locking, and then for the automatic locking, we're still using the lead screw, essentially controlling the stepper motor to lock and unlock the door. Surely this new design would still keep my nephew away, right? You know what? It's fine. If the manual lock won't stop him, the automatic one will. This one I've actually tested, and it should be pretty solid. It could technically still be broken if enough force was applied. Even I had a hard time breaking it. Now let's try operating it wirelessly. Watch this. So I'm gonna use, so right now it's locked, right? I'm gonna use this thing. Oh, that unlocks it. Watch that again. And it's locked. Okay, now to test the opener. It should be connected IoT. Let's see. And it's not working. You know, I don't know what's wrong with it. I don't want to find out why it's not working. So what we're gonna do is let's just install another IoT module and have it working. And looks like I actually fit this time around, so that's good. I just gotta figure out how to get in and out without having to make a stupid ass face. So there's one more thing to test, which is using the RFID tag to unlock the door from the outside. Just as I was scanning it, I realized that I made a really big mistake. The RFID sensor is in the wrong side of the door. Oh my god. What an idiot. Yeah, this project was mostly a failure, but maybe sometime in the future I will go back and fix everything. But for now, I need to move on to different projects. And if you hated this video because it was bad, then you should check out my other videos. Maybe you'll like those more. Sorry, forgot something.